The extraordinary life journey of Queen Elizabeth II. When people talk about royalty, one name stands above almost every other: Queen Elizabeth II. But behind the crown, the palaces, and the ceremonies was a woman who lived through war, heartbreak, political change, family struggles, and the incredible responsibility of leading a nation for more than 70 years. Today, I want to take you through the extraordinary life journey of Queen Elizabeth II, a story that is far more human than most people realize. Queen Elizabeth II was born on April 21, 1926, in London, England. At the time, no one expected the young princess to become queen. She was simply known as Princess Elizabeth, the daughter of Prince Albert, Duke of York, and Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Her family believed she would live a relatively private royal life. But destiny had other plans. Everything changed in 1936 when King Edward VIII gave up the throne to Mary Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. His decision shocked the entire world. Elizabeth's father unexpectedly became King George VI, and just like that, 10-year-old Elizabeth became the future queen. Imagine being a little girl and suddenly realizing that one day the weight of an entire nation would rest on your shoulders. As World War II spread across Europe, Britain faced one of the darkest periods in its history. While many believed the royal children should leave the country for safety, Elizabeth stayed in Britain with her family. During the war, she gave radio broadcasts to encourage children who had been separated from their families. At just 18 years old, she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service, where she learned to drive military trucks and repair engines. She wasn't simply watching history unfold, she was becoming part of it. Even as a young princess, she believed leadership meant serving others. During these difficult years, another important chapter of her life was quietly unfolding. Elizabeth had fallen deeply in love with Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark. Their relationship faced criticism from some royal advisors, but Elizabeth never wavered. In 1947, they married at Westminster Abbey. The wedding became a symbol of hope for a country still recovering from war. Together they would build a family and eventually have 4 children: Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. No one knew then that their marriage would last more than 7 decades. Then came another life-changing moment. In February 1952, while traveling in Kenya with Prince Philip, Elizabeth received heartbreaking news. Her father, King George VI, had died unexpectedly. At only 25 years old, Elizabeth became Queen of the United Kingdom. She returned home not as a young wife, but as a monarch carrying enormous responsibility. Most people her age are still discovering who they are. Elizabeth suddenly had to lead millions of people while the entire world watched her every move. Her coronation in 1953 was watched by millions on television, introducing the monarchy to a new generation. As queen, Elizabeth witnessed an astonishing amount of history. She served through the Cold War, the space race, the civil rights movement, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the Internet, and the digital revolution. She worked with 15 British prime ministers, beginning with Winston Churchill and ending with Liz Truss. She met countless presidents, world leaders, and religious figures. But while history celebrated her public achievements, her private life was far from perfect. The royal family experienced painful scandals, public criticism, and personal heartbreak. The marriages of several of her children ended in divorce, creating headlines around the world. Then, in 1997, tragedy struck when Princess Diana died in a car crash. The world mourned, and many questioned the royal family's response. It became one of the most difficult moments of Elizabeth's reign. Although she was deeply affected personally, she eventually addressed the nation with compassion, helping restore public trust. Even queens face moments where every decision is criticized. Yet Elizabeth continued serving with quiet determination. Her greatest strength wasn't dramatic speeches or political power. It was consistency. Year after year, decade after decade, she remained dedicated to her duty. She believed that leadership meant showing up, even when life became difficult. People admired her calmness during times of uncertainty. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic changed the world. Once again, Queen Elizabeth spoke directly to the public, reminding people that better days would return. Her words, "We will meet again," brought comfort to millions during a frightening time. Then came perhaps the greatest personal loss of her life. In April 2021, Prince Philip, her husband of 73 years, passed away. Images of the Queen sitting alone during his funeral, following pandemic restrictions, touched hearts around the world. Despite her grief, she continued carrying out her royal duties. It reminded everyone that behind the crown was a wife mourning the love of her life. By the time she celebrated her Platinum Jubilee in 2022, Queen Elizabeth had become the longest reigning monarch in British history. 70 years on the throne. An achievement unlike almost any other in modern history. Millions gathered to celebrate not just a queen, but a woman whose life had become intertwined with the story of an entire nation. Then, on September 8, 2022, the world received heartbreaking news. Queen Elizabeth II had passed away peacefully at Balmoral Castle in Scotland at the age of 96. Across Britain, church bells rang, crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace, and flowers covered the gates. People from every corner of the world paid tribute to a woman they had known for generations. For many, it felt like the end of an era. Her son became King Charles III, beginning a new chapter in British history. But Queen Elizabeth's legacy remains unforgettable. She wasn't remembered because she was perfect. She was remembered because she never abandoned her responsibility. Through war, political change, family challenges, and personal loss, she continued serving with grace, dignity, and resilience. Her life teaches us that true greatness isn't about power or fame. It's about commitment. It's about staying strong when life becomes difficult. It's about putting others before yourself. And it's about leaving the world better than you found it. Whenever people remember Queen Elizabeth II, they won't simply remember the woman who wore the crown. They'll remember the woman who carried it with unwavering courage for more than 70 extraordinary years. And that is why her story will continue inspiring generations long after the crown has passed to others.